Once a giant, always a giant. For me, it's only a giant.
All right, what's going on, YouTube? Diggy546. Definitely hit that subscribe button if you're new. Like the video if you like the video, and I won't tell if you click that bell. Let's go ahead and get into this. All right, so this video isn't going to have the clips like the last couple videos. I've been kind of busy this week, so bear with me. I am still going to have a good amount of stats that I think will be able to give us a pretty good idea of the opponent that we're going against this Sunday. I mean, my thoughts going into this game are at least it's a 1 o'clock game. So if we get embarrassed again, it'll be at 1 o'clock instead of on prime time, and it won't be viral. But knowing us, it'll always be viral. And then also maybe the Giants will finally show up if it's a 1 o'clock game instead of a prime time game. So let's just jump straight into it. Miami, their offense is a complete powerhouse. Yes, they put up 70 points, and that kind of skews a lot of the numbers. But putting up 70 points is putting up 70 points. You can't just say, oh, Denver is so bad they gave up 70 points. Like, no, Miami put up 70 points. If it was just that simple, teams will be doing it all the time. Teams barely put up 50. I mean, that's crazy when people do that. So to get to 70 and have had the chance to break that record by kicking that field goal, it shows that they're the most explosive offense in the league, at least for now. They're averaging 511 yards per game, 176 rushing, 343 yards passing, just like the 49ers. And like I said, I wish I had more time this week, but just like the 49ers, they do a lot of misdirection in their play calling. Like they'll have Tyreek Hill running across the field, have him running a wheel route, have your tight end sinking out of the backfield behind that wheel route, running an inside route. So just a lot of confusion, running really simple plays, but dressing it up by using player motion and pre-snap motion to make it look like it's much more complicated of a play to stop than it is. And that's how they make a ton of plays. They have all that speed. They have people moving around everywhere. The 49ers kind of do that misdirection stuff, and then they just hit you right in the mouth. Well, the Dolphins do that, and then they just run right past you or run right by you or run around you. So that's how the Dolphins make a ton of plays, a ton of pre-snap motion, and really simple run plays, really simple pass plays. But like I said, it's kind of dressed up to make it look like it's not that simple and confuse the defense. They're also really good at snapping the ball while one receiver is running behind another receiver. So while a defender literally can't see a receiver because he's running behind a receiver, the Dolphins have mastered snapping the ball right here. Like snapping the ball right there behind, whether it be a receiver or a tight end. They have just become really elite at doing that, and that gives defenses all kinds of headaches because which way do you go? Are they going to take it back the other way? What's going on? So they do a ton of crazy stuff, and Mike McDaniel is a complete mastermind. He was a guy that I wanted as a Giants head coach. I'm happy with Dable. I think Dable will get this thing under control. Maybe not this year, but I think long term Dable will be a good coach here. But Mike McDaniel was definitely on my short list for coaches. So he's doing a great job over there. He's kind of revived Tua's career. A couple of stats on Tua. He's I think over 1,000 passing yards already, 9 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. All 3 of his interceptions have come 20 yards down the field, so it shows you he's taking shots. He's 50% taking shots more than 20 yards downfield, which is not bad at all. But that's all. Also, like I said, where all 3 of his interceptions came in the middle of the field. Um, he's doing a lot of work. But first, let's look at what he's doing behind the line. 23 for 23 behind the line. That shows he's throwing a lot of screens. They haven't batted down one screen, even though 2 is supposed to be short. They haven't intercepted one screen. They haven't done any of those things. 23 for 23. They're catching the screens, and they're getting yards. So he's thrown 3 touchdowns on those screens. So they are a screen team, just like the 49ers. The Giants are going to have to put on their best tackling costumes. They're going to have to actually tackle this week, or it's going to be more of the same. 3rd and long, screenplay, and you're just not tackling somebody. Tua is in the middle of the field. He's completing 80% of his passes. He's doing work in the middle of the field. For some reason, he doesn't have any touchdowns in the middle of the field, but most of his yards have come in the middle of the field, which I guess kind of makes sense. I mean, he throws well with anticipation. Uh, Tyreek and Waddle, they do a lot of work on these slants, so that makes a ton of sense. Um, let's get into these running backs. I mean, let's get into these running backs. Devin Achane and Raheem Mostert are serious issues. I mean, they can score from anywhere on the field. Both of them can. Achane, the rookie, and Mostert, the vet, coming over from the 49ers with Mike McDaniel. And like I said, they can score from anywhere. They both have blazing speed. They both also run with a bit of power. It's like, especially Mostert, he's smaller, but he's a guy that really just like is not scared. He'll go in there. He'll run into people. People will bounce off of him if you don't wrap up. So both of them are really explosive running backs. Both of them can run and catch, and both of them are very good as far as vision goes of seeing that hole, exploding through it, and making those huge plays. So we're going to have to account for them. Now, we did solid against the run for the most part last week, but we're going to have to do more of that. And 49ers and the Dolphins, the way they run their run plays, I mean, no, not many people are stopping it. But more than anything, the Giants need to absolutely step up and continue to do a little bit better than they did last week as far as tackling. Just like they did better last week tackling for the most part, they have to continue to improve on that if they want to have any shot at being in this game. Then you got the biggest issue for me in the league. Like I said, this is the biggest thing that no one is able to have an answer for is Tyreek Hill. I literally call him every week on Twitter. I call him a nuke because Tyreek Hill literally cannot be stopped. Now, sometimes they bracket him and sometimes they have success that way. But for the most part, on a week in and week out basis, you're just kind of hoping that Tua misses him or hoping that he doesn't see him because Tyreek Hill is much too fast. And that's why I want our guy, Jalen Hyatt, to eventually be, even though they're kind of different players. Tyreek Hill is kind of like more of a power kind of player. Once he catches the ball, turns into a running back, really elusive. But right now, Tyreek Hill there's no answer for him. There's no answer for Tyreek Hill in the league. And then by the way, you also, if you paid any attention to the videos I've done on Jalen Hyatt with Darius Slayton, how they're both fast and how it stresses out defense, even in our offense. Well, they have Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, guys who can do it in the short game, guys who can do it deep down the field, both great route runners, and there's no answer for it. There's just simply that you have to hope that they have an off day. If they don't have an off day, they're going to both go over 80 yards each. One's going to have 150. Both are going to have touchdowns. And there's not much you can do there. So Hill and Waddle, you gotta hope they have an off day. And it's just that simple. We got some good cornerbacks at 1 and 2 right now. I mean, they kind of benched Trey Jackson, but we got Adoree, we got Deontay Banks, and Deontay Banks has looked good all year. But I do not expect either one of these guys to really be able to do much with the two wide receivers that they're rolling out. They have Braxton Berrios. They have Robbie Chosen, who I think used to be Chosen Anderson, who used to be Robbie. They got all those guys, too, who are really supplemental wide receivers who do a good job, who will probably be our second wide receiver on our team. But it's really about Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. Now, the only thing I'll say is Teron Armstead, the longtime Saints tackle. He's been, I think, the Dolphins tackle for like 2 years now, maybe. He's on IR for now, so he's not going to be playing. Their backup, I think, Kendall Lamb. He's a guy that gave up a sack last week. He gave up 7 pressures, so that's something to take a look at. Tua was under pressure last week. That's how the Bills were able to hold them to 20 points. But the Bills also have like a really dominant secondary. I mean, like a dominant secondary. So they did that along with great defensive line play. That's really how they got Tua out of his game last week. But opportunities will be had over on the left side. Now, will we get there in time? Will our cornerbacks be able to hold up for guys like Kayvon Thibodeau and Azeez to make things happen? We'll find out. But like I said, that's something that we can attack. Liam Eichenberg gave up 2 sacks last week. I think he gave up like 4 pressures and 2 sacks. So didn't give up a large amount of pressures and quarterback hits and stuff like that as much as Lamb did, but he gave up 2 sacks. So those are things to notice. We also got Dex down there. We got Leo. So hopefully one of those guys can make something happen in the middle of the field. Third down. The Dolphins are 42% on third down, which is 12th in the league. So not bad, but they're also the best team in the league for not getting a third down. They have 9.5 third downs per game. It averages out to, and 25 first downs per game. So they're constantly converting and getting first downs on second down and on first down because their play design is so great. Their execution is so great. The quarterback has a great command and great confidence when running the offense. So they are very rarely getting the third down. So we have got to make sure we get them the third down. And even when we do, they're still 12th in the league. They're not bad on third down at all. They just haven't gotten that many third downs. They may even be better if they were to get the more third downs. They aren't that good on fourth down so far, but I mean, that's kind of a throwaway stat if you ask me, especially when you're not really looking at each down and distance of each fourth down. They're 77% in the red zone. I'm pretty sure that's top of the league, really, really high as of now. Now, when you take a look at their defense, Jalen Phillips is the guy that stands out. Bradley Chubb stands out. Emmanuel Ogbah is their third edge. You got Christian Wilkins in the middle. They got guys. They got guys, and our offensive line is completely tattered and torn apart and banged up. Everybody's hurt. So I do not expect us to hold up in pass protection. It's just not realistic. Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips, Emmanuel Ogbah, and then Christian Wilkins in the middle of that line. I just don't see our line holding up. They've got 10 sacks, so that's kind of like middle of the league. But I just do expect them to have a big impact. They're way too talented up there compared to the players that we're putting out there. Azudu at tackle, McKeithen at right guard, Bredesen at center, and then you're probably going to have Mark Glowinski at left guard, and that's just no good. JMS is not going to play, AT is not going to play, and that's going to really hurt us. They have a really good cornerback one in Xavier Howard. He's a really good cornerback one, but I can't pronounce it. I haven't heard his name pronounced, but Kader Kohu, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce his name. He gave up 101 yards last week on 5 targets and 4 catches and 2 touchdowns. So he did not have a good day at the office. Stephon Diggs took him to town, took him to task. And by the way, Josh Allen in general had a perfect quarterback rating last week against the Dolphins. So I think he threw like 3 incompletions. The only problem is we don't have Stephon Diggs and we don't have Josh Allen. So I really don't see, I mean, maybe there are going to be opportunities for us to take advantage, but our quarterback, first of all, has to be ready to take those chances. And then second of all, the offensive line has to be able to block so we can get some of these passes downfield. So that is the Dolphins roster. Like I said, a little bit quicker than the last couple of weeks as I've gone through this team. But let's kind of have a quick break in the action to shout out one of the sponsors, Underdog Fantasy. I wanted to give my underdog pick'ems for the week as I've done the last 2 weeks. The first week, if you would have taken my pick'ems, you would have won. Last week, not so much. We kind of went down with the Giants. But this week, I'm trying to be smart here. DJ is lower than 224 yards. I would take that. I would take Thibodeau higher than 1.5 assisted tackles. I think he's going to really start getting things done. And defensive linemen are always in on assisted tackles. Mostert higher than 0.5 rushing yards, 0.5 rushing touchdowns and receiving touchdowns. I would take that because Mostert is a guy that could catch the ball. He could run the ball. He's been getting less carries, but he's a touchdown machine at the same time. He got 4 touchdowns a couple of weeks ago. So I would think that he would get in the end zone this week, whether it be receiving or running. Tua higher than 286.5 passing yards. I know those are a lot of passing yards, but they average 343 a game. So I will say I'll go ahead and say 286. He's got both of his wide receivers healthy, and he throws to the running backs a lot. And then finally, Tyreek higher than 0.5 rushing touchdowns and receiving touchdowns. Tyreek is a touchdown machine. I've had him in fantasy for a while, for years now, and he always finds a way in the end zone. I mean, it's only a matter of time. He didn't score last week, but he probably will score this week. So those are my picks. DJ lower than 224 yards. Tibbs higher than 1.5 assists. Mostert higher than 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns. Tua higher than 286.5 passing yards. And Tyreek higher than 0.5 rushing or receiving touchdowns. Lock that in. If you go over to Underdog Fantasy, use code Diggy. And whatever you do up to $500, they will match it. If you put in 450, if you put in 499, if you put in 500, they will give you another 500 to match. Use code Diggy right now, and they'll hook you up over there. No matter how much you put in up to that, they'll match it. So let's kind of go over the Giants. This is going to be quick because we have not. I mean, why should I go back and dive into these deep analytics and dive into these numbers when what we're seeing is what we're seeing out there? We don't need all of these numbers to tell us what's going on here. The Giants are they're averaging 11 points per game, and if you take away the second half against the Cardinals, the Giants are averaging 5 points per game. That is astounding. That is literally the worst offensive start to a season that I can remember ever seeing from any team. I mean, the worst of the worst teams I've seen do much better than what the Giants have done so far heading into this game. It's just embarrassing, to be honest with you. They're missing Andrew Thomas. They're missing John Michael Schmitz. So they're not getting those reinforcements on the offensive line to maybe make DJ feel a little bit more comfortable. They're throwing Glowinski out there because, again, they have those injuries. They had to move Bredesen to center, and Glowinski's the only guy left. Justin Pugh has been a guy that we just signed, but he's got to get into football shape. It's going to take him at least probably 2 weeks, maybe even 3 weeks before he gets out there, and I'm pretty sure he'll probably end up being one of your starting guards in the near future. But right now, we don't have much on the offensive line. Our only hope is Daniel Jones really just playing the game of his life, going out there, throwing the ball in 2 seconds every play, throwing the ball with anticipation down the field, really just putting the team on his back. That's literally our only help because right now the team just isn't, they're just not built to beat a team that's this high-powered offensively, that has this kind of pass rush for once they go up, that's that great at forcing turnovers the way that the Dolphins are. We're also going to get Saquon back, but I'm not expecting 100% Saquon. We've seen him come back from these ankle injuries, and he's not the same player. I mean, there were a ton of times the dude was just falling down with that messed up ankle before, so I'm not expecting anything from Saquon. He's also questionable, so he may not even play. But if he does play, I think we got to get him involved in the pass game as well as the run game. But again, they might not give him that many carries, but I think we're going to have to get the running backs involved in the pass game because we're going to have to throw a lot of short passes. They're going to have to come out quick, and that's the only way I can see us really getting things done on Sunday at 1 p.m. The Giants defense, they're giving up 30 a game still, but I do think they look better last week than they have the week before and the week before that. So hopefully we can build on that. They did a better job tackling. If you take a look at what the Giants defense did, they gave up pretty much, 10 points? They gave up a field goal, which was like a legit field goal a little bit later on in the game. And then they gave up 7 they didn't give up 7 on that pick six. That wasn't their fault at all. But then they also gave up 7 after we fumbled inside of our own 15-yard line. So really, they gave up about 10 points to one of the best offenses in the league statistically coming into that game. So hopefully this defense can come out here again and really ball out, and we can hold this Dolphins team to 20-something points. And our offense has to have a huge game compared to what they've done so far for us to go out there and have a chance at winning this game. The defense also is good at getting to third downs. We get almost 13 third downs a game. Our defense does. But they're giving up almost half of them. They're giving up 6 of those third downs per game. And I know the Giants, when you look at the numbers, also on third and longs, they're giving up a lot of third and longs. But it seems like Azeez coming back has really revived this Giants pass rush. And hopefully we can get a couple of sacks. Maybe those turn into turnovers. But right now, I just really think our defense, even if they're able to match up to this Dolphins offense, which I just don't think is realistic, the offense just isn't there yet. So this is, like I said, going to be a little quicker than other videos, but I'll just go ahead and give my prediction. The way I'm looking at this now is even if our offense comes out and does better than before, I mean, what is that, 17 points a game? If we want to really talk about them doing something finally, I mean, I'm thinking 38-17, 38-13 Dolphins. I'm thinking this is another bad game for the Giants. I just don't. This isn't a good matchup, and the week after isn't a good matchup. But let's hope that the Giants go out there and prove us wrong. I am kind of looking into the draft, looking at possible solutions. But when the game starts, I'm always rooting for the Giants. I can't win. I can't root for us to lose once the game starts. So you guys let me know what you're thinking going into this game. I know most of us have no hope at this point, but we got to hang in there. Better days will eventually come. So you guys have a great weekend heading into this Sunday, and maybe we can get a win. If you made it this deep into the video, come on, just hit the subscribe button. I make Giants content primarily, draft content secondarily, and during the season, I'm going to be doing a lot of reacting to pretty much most of the NFL games and everything NFL. So if you made it this deep, go ahead and join the D6 squad.